everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Nicole, and today we're flowing through a 30-minute full body yoga sequence to help you feel strong, open, and refreshed. This flow is great for building flexibility, balance, and core strength, whether you're starting your day or unwinding after a long one. All you need is a mat and a little bit of space, not a lot. If you have blocks, feel free to grab them, but they're completely optional. And let's get started. So we're going to start with a bit of a warm-up, and we're going to do some grounding and breath work. So take a seated position with your legs crossed, whatever feels comfortable for you, in Sukhanasana. So find a comfortable seat, rest your hands on your knees, and gently close your eyes. We're going to take a deep inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Let's take 3 more deep breaths together. Inhale, filling up. Hold for a moment. And exhale deeply. 1 more. Inhale deeply. And exhale. Inhale, filling up. And exhale, releasing any tension. On your next inhale, sweep your arms overhead. And as you exhale, bring your hands to heart center. Let's begin today's practice. We're going to begin building some heat in the body. So you want to get on all fours into a tabletop position. Come down onto the hands and knees, making sure your wrists are under your elbows and your knees are under your hips. You want to spread your fingers out wide and lift your chest, really pushing your shoulder blades in. We're going to round through the spine, tucking the chin and chest into our cat pose. When we inhale, we want to drop the belly and lift the hips up, creating that nice arch of our back. We're going to take a few rounds of this. Exhaling, rounding our back, really spreading those fingers, feeling the ground underneath us. On our inhale, lifting that chest towards the sky and the tailbone. Exhale, really rounding out that back, tucking the navel in. Inhale, rounding the spine and gazing up. You can take as many of these as feels comfortable for you. And follow your own natural rhythm of your breath. And intuitively feel the way your body is telling you to move. Just warming up the body before we start. Breathe in, stretching that chest and gazing up. And exhale, rounding the spine, tucking the tailbone in. Inhale and exhale. Making sure we're really spreading those fingers and gripping through our fingertips. From here, we're going to come into our downward dog, Adho Mukha Savasana. So we're going to tuck your toes and lift your hips up and back, pressing back into downward facing dog. You can pedal your feet out, feeling a nice stretch of each leg. And feeling how it feels to have your heart above your head. And really pushing back into those heels. Feeling a nice stretch of the hamstring. And releasing any tension in your back. Breathe deeply here, finding some space. To do a fun little sequence, we're going to be doing a sun salutation. So we're going to inhale, stepping to the top of our mat. We're going to inhale our arms up, stretching high, and exhale, folding over our legs. Get a nice stretch here, grabbing onto the backs of the ankles or the backs of the calves. And on our next inhale, we're going to come to a flat back. So inhale, flattening that back, coming to a halfway lift. And in our next exhale, we're going to step back into plank pose. So feeling strong in our plank here, again, making sure our wrists are under our elbows, our toes are under our ankles. We're going to take an inhale here. And on our exhale, we're going to shoot our toes forward so that our shoulders are a bit over our wrists, and then we're going to lower down into chaturanga. So lowering down, and in our inhale, we're going to come onto the tops of our feet, pushing off our feet, keeping our thighs off the mat, and rounding our spine, coming into upward facing dog. Breathe in, and on your next exhale, curl over your toes, pushing your hips back into downward facing dog. Now we're going to take that sequence 2 more times. So on your next inhale, you can step to the top of your mat from down dog, and inhale, rise your arms up. You can do a little back bend if you're feeling it, and exhale, fold over your legs. Feeling a beautiful stretch. Inhale, halfway lift, really flattening that back, making it as straight as possible. Exhale, placing your hands on the mat and stepping back into plank pose. Inhale to prepare, and exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Breathe, and exhale, downward facing dog. Beautiful. Seeing how your downward facing dog evolves throughout your practice, can you maybe push the back of your heels even further down onto the mat? Take a breath here, feeling that heat building in the body. On your next inhale, step to the top of your mat. Once again, coming into mountain pose. Inhale, those arms to the sky. And exhale, fold over your legs. Forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back, and exhale, step back into plank pose. Inhale to prepare, exhale, chaturanga, and inhale, upward facing dog. Keeping those arms and elbows close to the body, we're going to exhale, coming into downward facing dog. Feeling how much more limber our body is, and that sense of calm. Alright, from downward facing dog, we're going to do another fun little sequence. We're going to flow through our warrior sequence, and we're going to start on our right side. So from your downward facing dog, inhale your right leg up to the sky, coming into 3-legged dog, making sure you're squaring your hips to the mat. And exhale, stepping your right foot in between your hands. Now make sure you're stable in your legs and you have a good foundation. And on your next inhale, rise your arms up to the sky, coming into warrior 1. You can place your heel, your back heel, down on the mat at a 45-degree angle, or you can keep it up, whatever's more comfortable for you. And you want to make sure that your palms are facing each other and you're really pivoting your chest towards the front of the mat. Really feeling strong in our legs here. Inhale deeply, and on your exhale, bring your arms out to a T into warrior 2. Now you can place your back foot completely parallel to the mat. And And just breathe here, making sure your right knee stays over your right ankle and doesn't shift over to the left. And we want to keep our arms up and strong, keeping them nice and straight. We can gaze over our fingers. I like to look over my middle finger on my right hand, and same for my left. And just breathe. Feeling connected to nature, feeling connected to yourself. We're going to inhale, turn our palm to face us, and slowly bring our left hand down our back leg, while we bring our right hand up to hang over us into our reverse warrior. Breathing into this beautiful stretch of the right side body. Feeling graceful and at ease. When we feel ready to come out, we can inhale, coming back into warrior two. In our next exhale, we're going to cartwheel our hands back down towards the mat. We're going to bring our back foot facing the front of our mat once again, coming onto our toes. Coming into a bit of a low lunge, and then we're going to step back into downward facing dog. And you might have guessed, we are going to do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to inhale our left leg up to the sky for three-legged dog on the left side, keeping those hips square as you can. And on your next exhale, we're going to step our left foot in between our hands. Again, build that strong foundation of your legs, making sure everything's aligned before we inhale our arms up to the sky, coming into warrior one. Again, if you want to come off the balls of your feet for your back leg, you can pivot to be a 45-degree angle with your toes facing the front of the mat. So you want your heel to be towards the back of the mat, you want your toes to be towards the front of the mat, if you're going with that variation. And again, make sure your palms are facing each other. When I first started yoga, I would just have my hands kind of up like this. You want to really face your pinkies to each other and broaden that chest. And again, making sure your left knee doesn't go over the left ankle. Breathe in. And exhale, changing that back foot to parallel, bringing those arms out to a T. Breathe deeply here. Again, you can gaze over those fingers of your left hand, feeling strong and connected, and really working through our legs. Everything's working, our arms, our hands, our legs, a very strong pose. We're a warrior. And then on your next inhale, we're going to bring that right hand down our right leg as our left palm faces us and drapes overhead. Coming into a reverse warrior on the left side. And breathe into that left side body. Feeling a beautiful stretch. And on our next exhale, we can come back to warrior two. And inhale, cartwheeling our hands back over our front foot, coming onto the ball of our back foot, and exhale, stepping back into downward facing dog. And notice how this down dog feels in comparison to the ones we did before. We're a lot more stretched out, we've built some heat, you can pedal your legs out again. Feeling a beautiful stretch of those heels. Really remember to keep your hips up, to really feel like they're being pulled by a string up to the sky. To really release that back. From down dog, we can find our way back onto our knees. We can bring our knees over to the side so we can sit down on our butt. We're going to come into a little core section. So we're going to be coming into boat pose. So have your feet out in front of you. They can be bent, or we're going to come to a seated position. We're going to slowly lift our legs while engaging our core and hold here. If you'd like to stay here, that's totally fine. We're going to place our hands, palms up, right next to our legs, parallel from the mat. If you'd like to come into full boat, we're going to extend our legs straight. And now we're in our boat pose. The biggest thing we want to remember is to really engage our core and make sure our back isn't rounding like this. We want to keep our back straight. My legs are shaking a bit, but that's totally fine. That's how we know it's working. So we want to keep our legs as straight as possible and just take deep breaths here. Try to lean back as much as you can without compromising your straight back and your form. I like this pose because our palms are facing up. We're really offering something. Offering our love of yoga. And offering some joy and happiness to the world because we know it'll come back to us. Alright, you can release. That feels so good. Now, the core work is not over. We are going to come down to our bellies. We're going to swing our legs back behind us. Come onto our tabletop once again and lower down completely to our bellies. Now, we're going to come into a plank pose. Everyone knows this one. So we want to make sure we set up correctly. We want to have our elbows in alignment with each other. We want to make sure our elbows are right underneath our shoulders. We're going to tuck our feet under. And when we're ready, we're going to just lift up and keep a straight back. We want to be as straight as possible while engaging that core like we just did in boat pose. We're going to hold this pose for 1 minute. So on your next inhale, lift up, really pressing through those toes. And we're going to hold this pose for 1 minute. We want to make sure we're broadening our shoulder blades and staying as still as possible while engaging that core and maintaining our form. Really working our thighs, really engaging all the muscles in our arms and our legs. Try to find some stillness. Twenty more seconds. Breathe in and hold and breathe out. 5 more seconds. You're doing so good. And exhale. And we're done. You can lower down. You can bring your palms to face up to release those shoulders for a moment. And just take a few deep breaths. Feeling all that tension released from our body. When we feel ready, we can push back, coming into a well-deserved child's pose, placing our forehead on the mat, our toes are touching, and our knees are splayed out. Feeling a nice release of that back before we get into our next pose. Take one last deep inhale and deep exhale. Inhale. Alright, we're going to roll up slowly and come to sit on our ankles. And we're going to find our way to a standing position. And now we're going to do one of my favorite poses, a real yoga classic. We're going to come into our tree pose. So we're going to shift our weight onto our left foot. We're going to bring our right foot to the inner part of our thigh or down here by our calf, whatever is more comfortable. We're going to bring our hands to our heart, or you can bring them up to the sky. We'll be holding this pose for 1 minute, so get comfortable. Breathe in. Take one deep inhale. Hold it for 4. And take a deep exhale. If you want, you can raise your hands up to the sky. Do a little mudra with your fingers. Or what's even more challenging, if you'd like a challenge today, is to change your gaze. So looking up makes this pose a lot harder, as well as tilting your head up is even more challenging. But we want to be like a tree, so the wind or our balance may come and shift us, but we are rooted into the ground, rooted by our feet. Or you can bring your hands to heart center. One last inhale, and one deep exhale. Alright, you can release that right foot. Give yourself a little 1-2 step, a little shake out, whatever feels good. And of course, we're going to take that on the other side. So we're going to shift our weight into our right foot. Same deal, we're going to bring our left foot to our inner thigh or down here by our calf, whatever's more accessible for us. And once we feel a good foundation in our legs, we can inhale, bringing our arms up to the sky. We can bring them to a little mudra down here. We can bring them to our heart center. And like I mentioned before, if we'd like a challenge, we can change our position of our gaze so we can look straight out. The most challenging is to look up to the ceiling. Or if we'd like to get really fancy, we could do a little bind. So we're doing a little hands at heart center, but behind our back. That's always fun. A little bit of a stretch of our shoulders. Or you can just keep it classic. Let's take a deep inhale wherever we are. And hold. And deep exhale. I love having my hands at heart center because I can feel my ribs as I breathe in and out, opening and closing, expanding. Inhale. And exhale. Feel that inner stillness. Your foot may be shaking or wobbling, or your leg. But through your breath, you're able to remain stable, remain connected. Alright, you can release the foot and shake it out a bit. We did a lot of amazing work today. We are going to sit back down, which is always fun. And come onto our butts, and we are going to come into a seated forward fold, Paccasimo. So we're going to extend our legs out long, inhale to lengthen, and exhale, folding over our legs. So we want to make sure we are challenging ourselves, but we want to try to make our back as straight as possible. It's not going to be straight, but we don't want to be super arched over. Now everybody's flexibility is different, so in the beginning you might be really arched over, but we want to get to a place where our back is a bit more straighter, and we want to feel like we're hinging through our hips instead of bringing our back to arch over our legs, if that makes sense. And you can grab onto the back of the feet, you can grab onto the calves, the ankles, whatever's more comfortable for you. Just breathe. Feeling a beautiful release of those hamstrings. Our legs do so much for us, carrying us around as we go on with our day. And we're just showing them some love, so breathe in and breathe out. On your next breath, we're going to slowly come out. Slowly returning back to a seated position. And now we're going to come into one of my favorite poses of all time. We are going to slide our butt down, coming onto our back. We can bring our knees into our chest to start. Take a few breaths here. Just preparing, really breathing into that low back. Now we're going to bring our right leg out long while keeping our left knee in towards our chest. Breathe in here. And then on our next exhale, we're going to take our right hand and guide our left knee over to the right side, placing that knee on the floor, coming into a supine twist. So in this pose, we want to make sure both shoulder blades are on the ground and we're really breathing into that twist, allowing our hand to guide the twist. And you can bring your arm to a cactus arm, you can bring it out to a T, and we want to just gaze over the left shoulder, feeling a beautiful twist. And when you feel called to, you can slowly bring your left knee back into center, bringing it back into the chest, and bringing your right leg back in to meet it, coming back into knees into chest. Now we're going to switch, so we're going to keep our right knee in towards our chest while bringing our left leg out long. And you know the drill, we're going to take our left hand and guide our right knee over to the left side, dropping the knee down onto the mat, while our right shoulder blade stays as close to the mat as possible. You can bring our arm out to cactus arm or bring it out to a T, same deal. And we're going to breathe deeply into that twist. Feeling all the stress and all the things we've been carrying just melt away with each breath. Breathing into that hip, breathing into that back, really twisting and breathing. We're going to inhale, bringing our right knee back into our chest and bringing both knees into the chest for one more breath. Here, we're going to grab onto the outer parts of our feet, or we can hook our fingers onto our big toe, whatever's more comfortable. And we're going to really try to push our knees into our armpits, coming into happy baby. This is another great hip releasing pose. But another thing we want to think about when we're in happy baby is making sure our low back is pressed into the mat. We don't want it rolling up, not having a good feeling in our back. We want to keep it flat while we bring those knees into the armpits, breathing deeply into the hips. Take some deep breaths here. Allowing our bodies to release any tension we may be storing in the hips. When you're ready, you can slowly come out of that and bring your legs out long on the mat, bringing your ankles to either side up the mat, and bringing your palms to face the ceiling, coming out towards your sides. Take a deep breath in and exhale as we arrive in Shavasana. Notice how your body feels in comparison to when you started your practice today. Thank thank your body for all the love it gives you and everything it provides for you. Maybe you had an intention at the start of the class, maybe you didn't. But let's all take a moment to realize how grateful we are and bask in that gratitude.